Universal Studios would try a few times to get a Hulk movie made in the late 90s. With 2 Hulk movies already being cancelled, Universal tried a third time to get a Hulk movie off the ground. This time they would bring in Michael France to pen a script. So, what if Michael France's Hulk movie was made? Michael France had screenwriting credits by this point on both Sylvester Stallone's Cliffhanger and Pierce Brosnan's GoldenEye. He was hired by Universal to get a draft written up for a Hulk movie, however this was not the first time they'd done this. France had previously been called in on 2 different occasions to pen scripts, and both times had been rejected in favor of John Turman and Jonathan Hensleigh's versions respectively. The third time was seemingly to be the charm, with Universal bringing France back into the fold once again in January of the year 2000. However, he would not be writing the script alone this time, as he'd be working with Michael Tolkin. In this story, we'd follow Bruce Banner, and he's being haunted by various nightmares about previously repressed memories from his past that mostly involve his abusive father, Brian Banner. By day, he works at the Department of Energy, where he hopes to begin working on a project that seeks to utilize gamma radiation as a new form of gene therapy. This project is approved of by General Ross and Major Glenn Talbot, and we soon discover that Bruce's lab partner and best friend Samuel Stearns is actually extremely jealous of Bruce, but despite this, when Bruce gives a presentation about his gamma project, it goes off without a hitch, and they receive the funding that they need. Things are also going very well in his personal life, as he's dating Betty Ross, and their relationship is going very strong. However, soon after, a man named Carl Creel breaks into Bruce's office, and he steals all of his files on the project. He then sets the gamma sphere to self-destruct and destroy the entire facility. Samuel Stearns ends up being stuck in the control room, and Bruce rushes in to rescue his friend, and they both end up being directly exposed to the gamma radiation. Now, Stearns' skin turns green, and his head gets a lot bigger, and he turns into the villainous leader. Bruce and Betty, meanwhile, end up being tranquilized and put into a helicopter. Bruce becomes enraged at seeing Betty in distress, and he turns into the Hulk for the first time. He smashes the helicopter, and he and Betty fall to the ground, with Hulk saving her life on the way down. We soon learn that Creel was actually the one who sent the helicopters, because he wants to apprehend the Hulk for research purposes. The whole world soon learns about the Hulk's existence, and he and Betty become fugitives of the law. Meanwhile, we see the leader is in a padded cell, under constant observation from Creel. We soon learn that the leader is now extremely intelligent, and Creel decides he wants to try working with the leader on continuing Bruce's work on gamma-based gene therapy. However, little does he know, the leader is now telepathic, and so he knows he's lying about the purpose of the experiments. He actually means to utilize gamma as a means of new warfare. So the leader instead ends up turning Creel into the Absorbing Man. The Hulk then busts in, and we get an elaborate and hugely ambitious action sequence between Hulk and the Absorbing Man throughout the streets of Las Vegas. Meanwhile, the leader creates a laser that actually neutralizes Bruce's ability to become the Hulk. We then learn that the leader actually plans to kill 90% of the world's population in order to save mankind from extinction, at least in his mind. He plans to cover the entire planet in a gamma halo and use an antimatter reactor to kill off most of humanity. So now Bruce, who's no longer the Hulk, tries to flee from the Absorbing Man, but he accidentally ends up blowing himself up by trying to absorb too many different chemicals at the same time. Meanwhile, the gamma halo causes a huge gamma lightning storm to begin, and Bruce rushes for cover in the lab, and there he experiences all of his repressed memories about his father, and these memories induce enough anger in Bruce that he's actually able to return to his Hulk form. He and the leader end up going to battle, however the gamma storm becomes uncontrollable and forms a huge black hole, which actually sucks in the leader and kills him. Now, Hulk then smashes all the leader's equipment, getting rid of the gamma halo and the black hole, before rushing off into the sunset with Betty Ross in his arms, finally at peace for the time being. However, Universal had some concerns over the budget of a movie like this, as well as the lack of comedy in the script. They then suggested the possibility of making the movie a full-on comedy vehicle for Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey. That's when Michael Francis decided to just quietly leave the project altogether. And so, what do I think of Michael Francis' version of the Hulk? Honestly, I think I like it more than the Ang Lee version because, okay, my biggest issue with the Ang Lee one was that it featured too much of Bruce's father. Like, it made Bruce's father the absorbing man, and, like, I get what they were going for, but I think it was too much. Like, I kind of like the idea of keeping his father more to a minimum, but, like, still keeping him in the story, because, don't get me wrong, I think that Bruce's story really is dependent on that arc. Like, you can do it without it, don't get me wrong, but, like, I think it's better with it. Let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I do think that stuff should be kept in. I just like the idea of him not being so crucial to the plot. Like, he's not the main villain or anything. I just think it works better with him not so prominently featured in the story. And I also love the idea of the leader being the main villain. It seems to be a common thing in these canceled Hulk videos is that the leader was supposed to be the main villain, and I'm wondering why the leader wasn't the main villain in either of the Hulk movies we got, because he really is, like, the Hulk's main adversary from what I can tell, and really, he's the one that makes the most sense to be in a movie, in my opinion. So honestly, I think that they should get off their ass one day and finally put him in one of the movies. That's just my opinion. Hopefully Tim Blake Nelson will actually get to play the leader one day. Wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, I love the idea of the leader being the villain. I'm very glad that Bruce's father is not in the story quite so prominently. It does seem like a little bit of a short script, I'm not gonna lie, and they would have to add some more stuff to pad it out. But I do like the pacing of this movie. It seems like it gets way more into the action. Like, it cuts out most of the exposition and gets right into the action, which I think was another thing the Ang Lee one suffered from, honestly. So I like the idea that this movie kind of just cuts right to the chase with it. So yeah, overall, I do think this version sounds like it could have actually been better than the Ang Lee one, which, don't get me wrong, the Ang Lee one wasn't that good. It's not as bad as people say it is. It's not great either, though. And this version sounds like it at least would have been better than the Ang Lee one, at least in my opinion. Like, the set piece between, the absorbing man and the Hulk in Las Vegas, that already sounds better to me than the climax we got, where you could barely see anything going on because it was nighttime and it was underwater. So it already sounds a lot better to have it, like, in a brightly lit location like Las Vegas. That just sounds like magic on the big screen, if you ask me. Though I do question whether or not the CGI would hold up, because Ang Lee, a lot of people say his CGI Hulk wasn't that bad. I disagree. I think that the Hulk looked pretty bad in the Ang Lee one, and this movie would have been made a couple years before that, so there's really no telling if it would have been better CGI or not. Probably not, because Universal were kind of penny pinching on this project from what I've heard, because they had spent millions on the Jonathan Hensleigh one that never even happened, and so they were trying to keep the budget to a minimum, so the CGI Hulk might have actually looked even worse in this version, sadly. But I at least do think that it would have been a bigger spectacle of a film than the Ang Lee one. That kept most of its action scenes in nighttime or dark places. Like, besides the scene where he rips the tank and then tosses it like a million feet, which was an awesome scene, by the way. That was like the only Hulk scene I can think of that was in daytime. Everything else was pretty much at night, and that was a mistake. And this one sounds like it would have been better because it would have been in a brighter lit location like Las Vegas. So yeah, I know I'm going on and on, but overall I do think that Michael Francis Hulk sounds better than the one we got. But either way, guys, let me know what you think of this version in the comments down below. Would you like to see me make more videos about the Hulk? Also, let me know about that in the comments down below. Tell me whether or not you want me to make more videos about the Hulk, or Spider-Man, or Marvel, or whatever the hell else you can think of. Make sure to ring that notification bell, because I upload a new video every single day at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's video. Make sure to also give this video a thumbs up, and share it with all of your friends on all your various social media platforms, and follow me on Instagram, Rinzler_Productions, and I'll see all of you in the next video.